Okay, so in this lesson, we'll go over the standard installation procedure SIP for Ubuntu 20.04. Let's go ahead and just get right into it. So the first procedure, it says launch VirtualBox, which we have here, 6.18. You just want the latest version. And it says create a new virtual machine by selecting the machine new item. It is this icon here. And then we're going to create a new option, and I'm on step 2. So this is where we put the type and the version. So in this area here, we're going to type in Ubuntu. Ubuntu 20-04. It's Linux, Unix, 64-bit. My screen here looks the same as this one. I'm on a Mac. The manual was built on a Windows, but as you can see, it's very close. For example, instead of next, I have continue, but it's the same concept. When it comes time to configure the memory size, we're going with 2048, essentially 2 gigs of RAM. I'm going to click continue. It asks me to create a virtual hard disk now. I click create. Next screen instructs me to create a VDI, a virtual disk image. I click continue. It says select the dynamically allocated as shown before in step 6. Click continue. In this case here, it says give it about 60 gigs of space. I know I don't need that many here. You could put 60 in yours. In this case here, I'm just going up to 30. I have quite a few VMs, or plan to have quite a few VMs on this machine, so I'll just be a little bit conservative on the space side here. In terms of the file location and size, this screen here, the VDI, I'm going to take the defaults. I click create. And it says go ahead, and on my Ubuntu, again, slightly different on a Mac, but it says at this point here, I'm going to go into the settings. So in settings, I'm going to set up the ISO file. So in storage, this section here in storage, I'm going to pick up my ISO file, which I downloaded from the course Canvas site, and I'm going to choose create a new optical drive. And I get to this screen where I get to add my Ubuntu, which I downloaded previously. So I'm downloading the ISO file, which is Ubuntu 20.04.1 desktop AMD 64 ISO. I click OK. It's the same file that you see here. I click choose. And at that point, I can go ahead and go to the network and make sure the network on step 13 is set up to NAT network. And I click OK. And make sure that the adapter is set up properly. Then I'm going to click on start. So after clicking start, I get to this screen here. I'm going to give myself a little bit of real estate, and it looks very similar to step 15. English is set as the default. I'm going to select install Ubuntu. I have English and English set up here. I click on continue. In this option, it says go for a normal installation, so I'm going to deselect the other options under step 17 and click continue. This may take a little while. I have erase disk and install Ubuntu. I click install now. Under the installation type screen, it says erase disk and install Ubuntu, and I get a little dialog box about if I continue with the changes. I click continue. I'm selected with the time zone. In this case here, I'm in New York. at this point, I get prompted to create the root account. I'm going to select John Doe. I'm going to select the password. Ubuntu approves of my password, and the second time I see this option here, who are you? I click on continue. Now it says the installation should proceed for about 30 to 45 minutes. Mileage may vary, as we often say in class, based on your connection or your horsepower in terms of CPU. So we're just going to let this build, and I'll fast forward to the completion of the install, which will be this screen. So that didn't take long. So at about 10 minutes or so, in my case, I have this screen that says restart now. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So after a few seconds, I get the authentication screen. I click on John Doe. I put in the password. Resize once again. And in this case here, we're going to install the guest additions CD that gives us additional functionality like the clipboard dragging and dropping from your host operating system to your guest operating system. So it says in devices, select install, insert guest addition CD. While that's happening, actually, I'm going to get rid of this here. And it says VirtualBox Guest Edition 618 is installed. So at this point, I should just click on the run. It asks me to authenticate just to make sure I have the proper privileges. And it's installing some additional modules. Now notice it says here that please install the GCC make Perl packages. So there's a couple of things here. It says if you receive this message that we need to run a couple of commands. So I'm going to close this window. And just so everyone can see this, let me just skip out of all of these here. Also make my screen just a little bit bigger, so we can see this. I'm going to go for remind me later on this. I'm going to go back into a terminal and actually run these commands. So I'm going to terminal. And it says sudo apt install GCC, the Y flag. And this takes a little while, but we're going to watch it go through. All done with the first installation, first command. I'm just going to clear the screen and put in the second command, which is we're going to sudo apt install make with the yes flag. Once again, clear the screen. I'm going to install Perl with the yes flag. Clear my screen once again, and the final time we're going to install NetTools so we can do ifconfig and other IP-based type of and networking tools. Okay, so we've installed GCC, make Perl NetTools. It says we may have to wait for some time after each running the commands. This is true. VirtualBox and guest editions gives you the additional functionality. More specifically, it allows you to share your clipboard. So let's go down into this area here. We're all essentially done, but just for our purposes, back into the VM, I'm going to enable drag and drop capabilities, make that bidirectional, shared clipboard bidirectional, and shared folders, I can do that at a later time. But all to say, we're at page 26. We've completed all of the steps, and our Ubuntu 20.04 is properly installed. See you at the next lesson.